Ladies and gentlemen, and all between the binary, this is Get Informed with Wajeeh. I'm Wajeeh Lion. Thank you for tuning in today. I have a special one for you where we are discussing the latest updates regarding the Middle Eastern war involving the United States, Israel. I'll also talk about executions in the kingdom. What's up? What's happening with that? We'll also be mentioning about the current situation with the Iranian infrastructure. We'll dive a little deeper when it comes to casualty counts. We're going to talk a little bit about the energy market. And then I think that should be it for now. Yesterday, we became number one in Rising World Politics in Substack. Thanks to your support, we have been growing fast and steady on this platform. People are watching, people are listening, people are tuning in. Um, they want to learn, they want to be part of this revolution. Help them become part of this revolution by sharing, liking, and subscribing, inviting your friends and family. Mother Day is coming up. Maybe you want to buy your mother a membership for Wajeeh Lion Substack the whole year for $35. It's an amazing price. And take this, when you get a second paid membership, you get 50% off on that second paid membership. So instead of paying $35 a month, you're going to be paying way less. Yeah, you'll be paying about $17.50 before taxes. That's not bad for 50% off on a whole year membership. And then you have, if you can't afford it for your mother, don't worry. Give me her email associated with the Substack, and I'll give her a premium membership on the house. Don't worry. I'm more than happy to participate in Mother's Day. If you can't afford one for her, I'm more than happy to get one for her on the house. If that makes any sense. In the meantime, destroy that heart button that you see at the bottom. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you are watching a recording. While you're there, while you're at it, before we continue, like, subscribe, and share and comment. Become part of the conversation. There's a lot of people that like to have a conversation on YouTube. Become part of it. Awesome. What is today? Today is May 4th, right? Yes, today is May 4th with the war recap. Following yesterday's submission of the revised peace plan, the 14 points from Iran, Iranian state media is framing this upcoming 4 week as a final window for diplomacy. Tehran is the one now putting a red line in the sand, not the United States of America, where it's warning the naval blockade. It's not lifted by early June. It will be considered day-to-day ceasefire valid. But then when we were on the podcast today with Malcolm Nance, we found out that Iran said bye-bye ceasefire. Because I found out that Trump is not planning on taking that blockade away. And in addition to that, The Trump administration said any ship coming out of Iran will be hit. Well, damn, that means the ceasefire is over. Why should I be contributing to a ceasefire when any ship of mine coming out of the port is automatically a target? That doesn't make no sense. The fallout continues from President Trump's confirmation of a massive troop drawn down from Germany, where the United States is pulling approximately 5,000 soldiers, and that's all the soldiers they can afford to take out. Why is that, Wajeeh? Why is only the United States able to afford only 5,000 soldiers? Well, everyone else there is an essential personnel to the U.S. mission in the region. What does that mean? That means everyone there is either a doctor that's treating a patient, an engineer that's fixing an airplane, or something in between within the intelligence agencies. At the same time, Trump knows that he was only to pull out 5,000 soldiers. And he goes, "We don't need NATO. We don't need NATO. We don't need it. They need us." Meanwhile, in Lebanon, despite a Lebanese ceasefire extension for another week or so, the IDF immediately breaks that ceasefire. I believe a ceasefire includes anyone. The definition of a ceasefire means you stopped all your attacks. What is the definition of ceasefire? No one is attacking the other party. Well, why the hell is Israel attacking Hamas? I mean Hezbollah in Lebanon. I'm not saying it's not like Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization. I'm saying that doesn't follow definition of ceasefire. You want to negotiate? You don't negotiate with the president of Lebanon. You negotiate with the Speaker of the House because that's the one that represents the Shi'i community. You want to sit down on the table and have talks? Then you stop attacking. You stop attacking if you want to sit down for talks. You attacking Lebanon is not going to make the talks any easier. It just proves the fact that Israel is not looking for peace. And it's just doing this to appease Trump and to appease some people in the international community. Look at us. We're doing our job. We're negotiating with the Palestinians. Yes, yes, we are negotiating with the Palestinians with our bombs. We're negotiating with the Palestinians by annexing 30 kilometers. We are negotiating with the Lebanese. I keep saying Palestinians, with the Lebanese. We negotiate with the Lebanese people with bombs. We negotiate with the Hezbollah by annexing the land. I'm waiting to see when Al Houthi is going to respond. They're still waiting for the Houthi not to do anything. Ay, 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 ay. So, I was looking for more numbers regarding the casualty and injury report, and the lowest number in Iran of casualties is 3,636. But that number could be more than 8,675 people killed. You almost have 45,000 people injured and currently in Iran. I could only imagine how many civilians now are hating the U.S. regime. Lebanon is sitting at 2,659 people killed and 8,122 people injured. Israel's sitting at 45 people killed and 8,530 injured. The United States number for officially how many people are killed is 15, and they have 538 people injured. Iraq, they have 117 people killed and 361 people injured. Emirat, UAE, has 23 people killed and 200. The Emirat and Kuwait combined has 23 people killed and 333 people injured. Let me take a look again at the price of oil. And the WTI is still setting at 102.53. The Brent crude is currently sitting at 110. Marban is sitting at 103. And all you can see is that the prices of everything else is rising. OPEC is up by $1.80. Oman is up by $12. Mexico basket is up by $5. India. Amazing. No one is talking to me, so technically I don't need the headphone. But the headphone died. So things are going up. Your oil prices are going up, and they may not be going down anytime soon. I'm sorry to tell you that. Now, I would like to go into. We talked about how many tankers were stranded in the strait. We talked about at least 150 tankers are in the Strait of Hormuz, not able to move anywhere, meaning there's barely any oil to be spread around the world. Nevertheless, these ships cannot go to South America. These ships cannot go to North America. These ships can't go to other countries that are selling oils. And that's a lot of ships. They're just stranded there. They could be moving, they could be doing business, but they ain't because they stuck. Yeah, let's go up here. Infrastructure. And أيوة. infrastructure check. Iran now is in a digital network, what I would like to call a black hole. Digital connectivity has hit an all time low outside of the government sanctioned SIM. Connectivity is effectively at 0%. For the general population, this has paralyzed the internal banking system and domestic logistics. Nothing smart works without internet nowadays. So all the smart features, all the videos, all your YouTube entertainment, all of your Netflix entertainment is all gone now. No, no internet. Meanwhile, the Iran energy power grid remains at a 35% capacity. Reports indicate the rolling blackouts in Tehran have transitioned into a permanent dark zone in several western districts to prevent power from military command centers. Iran is officially cutting electricity from its people because it needs to make sure that the military infrastructure is ready to respond. National security first, and then comfort. Meanwhile, U.S. Digital Defense (CISA) has received and the has raised the alert level to code red for U.S. municipal water system following confirmed logic bomb systems by the Iranian linked hackers. Several small towns in the Midwest reported temporary outages yesterday. The Iranians are already starting to figure out ways to hack the U.S. infrastructure. And in the past 10 years or so, people have been screaming their lungs out, explaining how the U.S. infrastructure is so vulnerable for attacks like this from Iran or from China, especially if we get into a war. Don't be surprised if you ever find an outage in a hospital now, or if you find one of the dams starts operating, in a not a good manner, or one of the dams fail and the water, God forbid, floods the town. Don't be surprised that if Iran goes and fucks up water desalination plants in the U.S., or if they go and fuck up uh some manufacturing or what so forth. Yeah, it's not looking good for you guys or for any of us. I'm one of you guys. Amazon has been struck several times in the United Arab Emirates and the UAE, and now they are resuming actions. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the executions in the kingdom, if you don't mind. There's no explicitly public available total for the number of executions in the kingdom that existed since its existence, which was in 1932. The Saudi government does not publish a comprehensive historical database or ledger for of its executions because of official Saudi state records covering this entire history of the kingdom. There are not accessible the most accurate calculation. The foreign human rights group that was established in the 1980s called International Monetary Groups, primarily Amnesty International and the European Saudi Organization for Human Rights, which began systematically tracking these figures since the 1980s. So in 1985 to the mid 2015, what we were able to calculate from public executions was 2,208 people were executed. And that is a very, very low figure where we assume that number may be 5 or 10 times that amount because, like what we said, the executions are um, the the informations are not all out, and they have to do the investigation. And Saudi government executes a lot of people behind doors without people knowing. Um, in 2015, they executed 158 people. 2016, they have executed 154 people. In 2017, they have executed 146 people. In 2018, they have executed 149 people. In 2019, they have executed 189 people. In 2020, they have executed 27 people, dropped because of COVID. In 2021, they have executed 65 people. In 2022, they have executed 196 people. In 2023, they have executed 170 people. I witnessed my first public execution at the age of 10. Saudi government calculation from all of these executions from 1985 to 2023 come up to 3,354 people. And they're taking this opportunity right now to execute more people because everyone's busy with the war. I mentioned earlier, just this month alone, in the month of April alone, they have executed 15 people. And in January, from January to April of this year, they have executed 54 people. Executing people in Saudi Arabia is like candy. And people go there for, tourism. Most of the executions is targeted toward people who are not Saudi citizens. But if you're a Saudi citizen, that does not exempt you from that execution, especially if you criticize the government. Why would they have witnessed execution? Because the Saudi claim is to make them example for other people, so other people don't do the same thing. Now they do all of the executions behind closed doors. Why they do the executions behind closed doors? Because it's a very bad public image if you do executions in public. And the back in the day, after they execute, let's just say like this person committed a heinous crime. After they execute this person, they hang that body up on like they crucify that body headless for without the crucifixion, just like they hang the body for a week or so for everyone to pass by and the Saudi government has executed someone. So even if you haven't seen the beheading, you see the body afterwards headless. That's Saudi Arabia for you. That's right, mate. Who wants to go vacation in Saudi Arabia, huh? You want to go watch the World Cup over there? Maybe they serve you, something on top of human bodies or with the cost of actual human blood. Oh, do you know how the execution of Jamal Khashoggi happened? You want me to go tell you about it? I can tell you all about Jamal Khashoggi. What happened, my friends? What happened and what do you know? Sit down in a different position, make myself a little comfortable for story time. Oh. Excuse me. Appreciate your patience. I need a second. Like, subscribe, and share while you're there. Invite your friends to join us. We are almost at 300 people. Yesterday, we were number one on the whole platform, believe it or not. And I am very, very cheap. My memberships are not expensive. $5 a month, $35 a year. I keep it very simple. If you want to be a VIP, it's $300. On September 28th, 2018, Khashoggi is denied immediate access to his immigration document, marriage document in DC. Jamal Khashoggi, I'll give you his story even before the execution, actually, before Saudi Arabia wanted to lure him. Who is Jamal? Jamal Khashoggi is an insider to the Saudi monarchy. His uncle used to be a weapons trafficker. His name is Adnan Khashoggi, and you know his uncle from the Epstein files, where he was involved with Epstein during the Cold War, and how he was also involved with the Yamama deals in the UK that allowed the Saudi monarchs to embezzle a lot of money from military deals into their own pockets and bribe the British government. And the British government lost a lot of its sovereign powers. And it's a complicated story that has nothing to do with today's with Jamal Khashoggi's story. Jamal, on the other hand, was an upcoming journalist during the Cold War, where Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan, joining the war that the United States has asked the help of the Saudi government to have the Mujahideen go to Afghanistan and fight the USSR at the time from expanding into Afghanistan. So the Saudis and many of the other Muslim nations, not all of them, some of the other Muslim nations gathered, and they encouraged Muslims from around the world, including the United States, to go and fight jihad in Afghanistan. Khashoggi was a journalist from Saudi Arabia that was sent abroad there to follow these soldiers that were fighting the USSR. And one of these soldiers that were being followed was Osama bin Laden. So Jamal Khashoggi create a personal connection with the infamous terrorist leader Osama bin Laden. I want to make sure I want to follow along his career without giving you misinformation. Because that coverage of the war is what basically gave him a lot of importance. He got his bachelor's degree in business administration from Indiana State University. Began his professional career in 1983, 1984 as a regional manager for a bookstore. That's not important. In 1985, during the Cold War, he transitioned to become a journalist in the Saudi Gazette. In 1987, he served as a reporter for several Arabian media outlets. And that's where he got his coverage with the Osama bin Laden and so on and so forth. Served as a reporter for various networks, including Al-Sharqa, Al-Wasat, Al-Majalla. And then he was sent to the Afghani war. He covered Osama bin Laden and then the Afghani Arab fighters, establishing the Khashoggi Arab early reporting in geopolitical news. In 1991, 1999, this is where he started gaining insight into the Saudi, intelligence and into to the Saudi royal family court. He was appointed as a managing editor and acting editor in chief for Al Madina news paper, Saudi Arabia's oldest newspaper. He operated. Uh, he then was appointed after that as the foreign correspondent for that news agency because of his specifically regarding political development in Afghanistan, Algeria, Kuwait, and Sudan. And then in 1999 and 2003, he served as a deputy editor in chief for the Arab News. I am trying to get to his diplomacy work. So all the way to 2003, he was doing, covering the news where he's gained, some experience. He's been covering the news starting from 1985 all the way to 2003, and he's been building a strong career on foreign news coverage, geopolitics, which built him a strong, you know, foundation for all of that knowledge. Why did I want to go over all of that? Is because I wanted to make sure that I had a good idea of what timeline that was in. I forgot the timeline. In 2003 to 2010, he entered the voluntary exile in London. No, returned to Saudi Arabia in 2010. When was he? I want to skip through a lot of stuff because this is such dense content. I want to get to when he was. Okay. So he did live in exile for a few years in London, where he operated as a media advisor and spokesman for Prince Turki Al Faisal, which was like one of his biggest insight into the Saudi royal family now. Even though his uncle was an insider to the Saudi royal family, that was his into the Saudi royal family. And Prince Turki Al Faisal was the former head of the Saudi General Intelligence Directorate. And then Prince Turki Al Faisal was appointed as the Saudi ambassador to the United Kingdom. And then Jamal Khashoggi followed that uh, the prince. It's like that's why they call it he lived in exile, but he was not exile. He returned to Saudi Arabia in 2007. And then when he returned to Saudi Arabia in 2007, he became an editor in chief for another news uh, newspaper, giving him more opportunity of becoming the boss of the bosses in the news world in Saudi Arabia, where he's rubbing shoulder with the princes. He's rubbing shoulders with the Saudi courts. He's meeting with the ministers of the Saudi government. He's having good intel about what is happening inside the Saudi government. And I want to remind you, 2011 was the Arab Spring. In 2012 to 2016, he was a regular contributor in Al Arabiya, and he was a columnist. And Turki Al Faisal in 2015, not Turkey, sorry, Al Walid bin Talal, the Saudi prince who's a mega billionaire that has shares in many companies, including Twitter. I think he has 10% shares in Twitter. Um, Wanted to launch his own news channel. So he reached out to Khashoggi on launching Al Arab news channel in Bahrain, backed by the Saudi billionaire Prince Al Walid bin Talal, and partnered with Bloomberg Television. The network was forced off the air by Bahraini authorities with the Saudi influence less than 11 hours after its broadcasting. That triggered an on air interview with the prominent Bahraini opposition leader. What was Jamal Khashoggi promised that he would have control as if it was a Western news channel. He was promised to have coverage on the Middle East as if it was Bloomberg, as if it was, he wanted to compete on the world stage, right? And that was around the time where, MBS was coming into the picture, and MBS was trying to cut down any voices of criticism. So in 2016, November of 2016, banned by the Saudi authorities from publishing columns, appearing on television, or attending conferences, Jamal Khashoggi, the silencing, the, so he was already feeling betrayed that like all his hard work on creating this news channel went to sham. And then in addition to that, in November, MBS was like, motherfucker, you shut the fuck up. I don't want to see you, hear you say nothing. I don't want to see you on a news channel. I don't want to see you on a podcast. I don't want to see you writing. I don't want to see you even at a conference. I don't want to see your face. I hate you, motherfucker. That was basically MBS. So Jamal Khashoggi was like, okay. The silencing directive followed Jamal Khashoggi's public criticism of U.S. President elect Donald Trump at Washington insult think tank event, contradicting the Saudi royal court diplomatic posture. Around that time, Khashoggi was thinking about how to get the fuck out. I'm a U.S. Like he's a U.S. citizen. He doesn't need to be treated in that way. Although the Saudi government views him as a property where they can tell him what to do and he's meant to follow that by law because by law he is a property of the Saudi government. We are still subject by law to the Saudi government. That means you're a property. Jamal, a free thinker, a critic, someone, an investigative journalist, someone that is, an educated scholar, a cultured man, a diplomatic man, a friend of George Bush, a friend of Obama, a friend of Clinton, a friend of the German chancellor, a friend of the British government, a well-known ally to the CIA. He has connections. Motherfucker knows people. He's been places. He's done shit. He's gone to the war in Afghanistan, survived and came back. So he's done some stuff, right? So in 2017, he fled Saudi Arabia in September to the United States, entering a self imposed exile where he was citing fears of arrest aimed at Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, uh, conditions of power, and crackdown on domestic dissent. It was also during that time where MBS started gathering all the Saudi businessmen and all the Saudi princes in the Ritz Carlton Hotel, where he was torturing them so they could give him money. In 2017, 18, he became a contributing columnist for the global opinion section of the Washington Post. He authored numerous pieces criticizing MBS administration, specifically targeting the Saudi led war in Yemen and the diplomatic blockade of Qatar and the mass arrest of women rights activists and critics. During that time, specifically after 2011 all the way to 2018, Saudis have been brewing, especially feminists. Lujain al Hadlul wanted to have her freedom of driving and was arrested and thrown in political prison. And it wasn't until Biden became president, he made it one of his demands is that she would be released out of prison. She's released out of prison, but not allowed to leave the country now. But even after the king or the crown prince, MBS, came out and said, we're allowing women to drive, she remained in prison. Because the way MBS thinks is that you get what you get from the moment I want to give it to you. Once people start demanding shit in the kingdom, and the kingdom having to obey those demands, the kingdom views itself as it will lose power to the people. So you don't get to say what right you have when you want to have it. I get to tell you what right you take when I want you to take it. So Lujain al Hadlul was getting arrested. Uh, Badawi was getting arrested. Um, for things as criticizing Sharia law or criticizing the religious police, were enough for you to get arrested. And feminists were grassroots organizing for more rights, and they were getting arrested. So Jamal was kind of moved by all of that and wanted to support them. Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the Saudi dissident living in Canada, I don't know if he's in the UK now, was a is a political gives a political satire and is a political critic of the Saudi government, and not publicly they were in touch with each other. They were talking back and forth. Khashoggi was supporting Umar bin Abdul Aziz, who is the opposition member, and he was giving him advices. The interesting thing is one of his main advices to the Saudi opposition and uh, members of the opposition is that don't you ever step foot in a Saudi embassy. Why is he saying that? Well, I can tell you why he's saying that. The Saudi government is notorious of human trafficking people outside the United States government since Prince Turki Al Faisal was the ambassador to the United States. And he knows that very well. In fact, when I was the Saudi culture and media coordinator for the Saudi club at Kansas State University, I got flown one time to DC to attend the Saudi President Club conference where we meet with the Saudi leadership, and it's kind of indoctrination into their security apparatus, and you meet with members of the security intelligence community. You meet people from the ambassador community, you meet the Saudi culture attache, you meet people from, and they give you training. They make sure that you have open eyes to what to keep an eye for from the Saudi students. And there is a guy named Faisal al-Shammari. He's still in DC, by the way. Was bragging to me personally about the Saudi ability and capabilities of finding Saudis who have committed heinous crimes in the United States and how they would human traffic them back to Saudi Arabia, avoiding U.S. law and U.S. justice. So the Saudi government can avoid bad public image in the king in the United States. And that is for people who just committed heinous crimes, have not criticized the Saudi government. Also, during that time, I can't tell you that I'm safe. No, because I also met with that guy again on another Twitter Spaces later on, years later, and I saw him speaking in an Arabic space that had like 200, 300 people in it. And I joined, and I requested the mic, and I joined, and I was like, Faisal, you remember who I am? He said, we remember you. We know who you are. We know what you're doing, where you are. And he said that in a public space. They don't give a shit. They don't give a damn. Worst thing they could do is send him back to Saudi Arabia. He has a diplomatic passport. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You just have to have enough cojones to keep going. So, during that same time, Jamal was in contact with Umar bin Abdulaziz. During that same time as well, the Saudi government was buying a software, buying access, not buying access to a software, a hacking software in Israel that does not require you to send a link or for me to click on a link or anything. It does not require anything. It just requires the Saudi to pay money, and the Israelis are able to do everything without you clicking on anything, without you going anywhere. They just hack it. And that hacking software is called Pegasus. Access to that software costs a couple $1 million a person per use. So they hacked Umar bin Abdulaziz's phone because we know for sure that his phone was hacked. And they can access everyone and anyone that had access to him. They can see all your messages, they can see all your apps, they can see all your actions, and they found out that Umar bin Abdul Aziz and Jamal Khashoggi were working with each other. Well, shit, that changed the whole calculus for Mohammed bin Salman. That changed from, oh, Jamal Khashoggi is nothing. Leave him alone at the public too. Oh, now I want this motherfucker's head. That changed the calculus from Saudi Arabia going, yeah, we know, just let him be. It's no big deal. To, okay, now we need to shut him the fuck up. So later in October of 2018, or back in 2018, before October, Jamal was planning to get married to a Turkish woman. The Turkish government requires anyone from Saudi Arabia or a Muslim country to prove that they are divorced or not married to anyone else if you want to marry one of their people. Because Saudi Arabia allows you to marry one and two and three and four wives. So Jamal had to go to the Saudi embassy in DC. And the ambassador at the time is the brother of MBS. The actual blood by blood brother, mother and father. Hold on. What you saying? Yeah. The ambassador of the United in the United States at the time was the brother of Mohammed bin Salman. Well, he goes into the Saudi embassy in DC, and they know that he's such a hot potato in the US that they can't even kidnap him from the United States. Or they cannot assassinate him in the United States. Too much of a risk. So all he was requesting is a basic document that proved that he has finalized his divorce with his previous wife and he's ready to move on and marry his new fiance. The brother goes, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you, but looks like we can't help you here in the US. You need to go to the consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. And over there, they will give you the document. His stupid ass could have been like, motherfucker, you're the ambassador and you're the brother of the king. But he was cocky a little bit. I believe he was cocky. There's no doubt about it. He was cocky as hell. Because he was telling us not to step a foot in the Saudi embassy. Meanwhile, he was going to the Saudi embassy. He could have been like, I know you are the brother of the crown prince. I know you can give me the document. I'm not going anywhere until you give me that document. But the servitude of a Saudi citizen goes beyond and above. So he was like, okay, Turkey, Istanbul consulate it is. My well, the excuse of the Saudi prince was you're getting married to a Turkish woman. We need to get you the document from Turkey. We can't get you the document from the United States. The government that needs the document is not the United States, it's Turkey. That was the excuse. Go to Turkey, we'll give you the document over there. Meanwhile, the assassination crew was being assembled. The assassination crew was called the Tiger Team. Team Tiger. Couple of bodies that can act as one person that looks similar to Jamal Khashoggi in body and shape and some physical images. A forensics doctor specializing in dead body and disassembling bodies. And a couple of guys from the Saudi Ministry of Interior, Mabahith. That's a crew. Their dumbasses all came in together. I'm gonna show you the setup here. I'm gonna give you the setup. Their dumbasses came all together. The stupidest execution team I have ever seen. But that doesn't mean they're not heinous. They're heinous motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you how bad they are. But I'm gonna also tell you how stupid they are. So they all came in together in a diplomatic plane, I believe. I might be wrong about the diplomatic plane, but I believe they all came together in one plane. Either diplomatic or a private plane. Anyways, before they arrive, the Turks have been hearing about the Saudi government planning and preparing an execution of a Saudi dissident, Jamal Khashoggi. The Saudis, they love their tummy, they're foodies, and they love Turkish food. So they love catering, these amazing Turkish kebabs, a little bit of hummus, a little bit baba ganoush. Give me a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let me have a little extra bread. Let me get a little extra shawarma. Okay. Let's have a tabbouleh, baba. The nice, good shit. Add some baklava in there too for me. I need some dessert. Kunafa too. Why not? And they love ordering out, and these catering companies come, and the the Turkish intelligence took that as an opportunity to start bugging the Saudi embassy, the Saudi consulate. Cameras, audio system, room by room. So the Turks knew beforehand that there's an execution coming. Jamal Khashoggi, calling the head of the Turkish security, he's friends with Erdogan. He's telling him, "I'm coming and I'm going to the Saudi embassy." Motherfucker didn't give him a heads up. By the way, you shouldn't go there. Just he's like, if you don't hear from me, something must have happened. You think the head of security would be like, my friend, not a good idea. And leave it at that, right? But that didn't even happen. His wife came with him and waited outside, or fiance, I should say. He told her, if I don't come out, this is the head of security in Turkey. You call him. His phone number. Jamal Khashoggi arrives, walking willingly, unknowingly into his death sentence. Comes in, notice that the everyone has been told to stay home and not come to work, except for the consul himself and few other people from security. They give him a cup of tea. He takes a sip, turns around, finds himself being tackled, covering his mouth. Now, there are people watching this live. Turkish intelligence on one hand, and the Saudi crown prince in a live stream shouting, I want his head. Cut it and bring it to me. Unfortunately, they started dismembering his body while he was alive. And then they put him in traveling cases, bags, like the same traveling bags that you see. One of the other guys, the fat guy that was supposed to look like Jamal, was given Jamal clothes to wear. Unfortunately, or unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us, Jamal Khashoggi's shoes were too small for the other guy. They come out, continue going. They go all the way to a museum. They enter the bathroom. They change clothes. They walk out of the bathroom and they head to the airport. One of them was left or something that was stranded. I forgot. That's not important. Who's waiting? His fiancée is still outside. Jamal Khashoggi's fiancée is going, where is he at? She's going to the guard. The guard says he's left to go for hours ago. She said, I didn't see him. They said he left the back door. Now, if you're telling your fiance, I'm walking in, and you walk out the back door, you wouldn't go back and see her? So she starts calling the numbers that he gave her. Her blood boiling, not knowing if he's okay or not. In the meantime, Saudi government takes all of those body parts and takes it to the council's house. The Saudi council house. And they melt his body with acid and they dump that acid inside the well in the compounds of the council's house. And they send a Turkish hired cleaning crew to come into the Saudi embassy, a private company, and they ask that these people to clean the mess up. This is what I called idiocity and how you can be a murderer, a crazy massacre, and still do stupid decisions like that. Saudi government comes out with a statement, oh, he's left the embassy. The Turks are goes like, no, he did not. At least he didn't leave alive. The Saudis are like, how did these fuckers know? And the Saudi government changes the statement, and the Turks goes, try that again. We have the information. We have the footage. Trump doesn't believe it. The rest of the security globe doesn't believe it. Turkey goes, You want the video? Send me email from the security intelligence, and we'll forward you the video. Saudi government keeps changing over and over and over their statement until they said, yes, sorry, yes, 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 we did it. Yes, we did it. We killed him. And then Trump goes, he's a good guy. MBS is a good guy. You guys don't know anything about him. He's a controversial. Jamal Khashoggi was a controversial guy. Why are you embarrassing my guest like that? The real embarrassment is that we hosted a serial killer in the White House. Yeah, he said, I didn't know anything about it. And we're doing everything that we can that it doesn't happen again. What you mean it doesn't happen again? Y'all do it all the time and continue to do it. And U.S. government hasn't been protecting U.S. You know, if you don't care about us Saudi citizens being kidnapped from the United States, you should at least be worried about how they were kidnapping U.S. citizens to be used in the slavery market over there for sex market in the Middle East, using Jeffrey Epstein and the Saudi same networks. If you don't care about me telling you the truth, what about all the Saudi princes that believe in slavery and believe in trafficking people and don't mind having enslaved sexy Westerners for them? The one in the White House is friends with Epstein. Why should he care? He was part of the equation. Okay, I haven't even had time for questions today. You guys want to ask some questions? I'll give you some time to ask your questions. Either here in the live stream, I'll bring in the much closer so I could look at your questions. Let's do some business before I get to the questions, ladies and gentlemen, and all of between the binary. This is Get Informed with Wajeeh. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are watching a recording. Please like, subscribe, and share, and comment down below. Join the conversation. Be part of this talk. Let's be part of this revolution. If you're on YouTube, come to my Substack at Wajeeh Lion, substack.com, and like, subscribe, and share. If you're not a premium member and you are enjoying the type of content and information that I'm providing you with, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. It is how we pay the bills. Do this every day and continue doing it every day so you don't have to do it every day. I do this. I am an insider. I have been there. I've seen what it's like to live in Saudi Arabia. I come from an extremist religious family that wanted me to become uh, a mujahid, and that's how I become the best anti-terrorist analyst out there, and how I can teach people how to fight terrorism without having to do simple, stupid decisions that causes more people to join um, the extremist lines. I tried to join the U.S. intelligence several times. It was not of success. Otherwise, they only want to take U.S. citizens, and I'm not a U.S. citizen. Even though I speak Arabic and I understand in 10 dialects, I have Sharia background that I studied comprehensively, and so that's still not good enough. Um, but if you like what I'm doing, if you like what I have to say, support me. We're trying to go to Canada to have more freedom of speech and more freedom of press over there. And without your support, we can't make it over there. So I could keep doing what I'm doing without being, threatened by our presidential leadership for saying and doing the right thing. It's really fucked up. I don't want to go to Canada. I don't want to have to go to Canada and live there for a while because I don't have to, right? Like I've worked so hard to get to where I'm at today. Canada is an amazing country. Canadian people are amazing people. It's not about that. It's just that you establish a friends and family network here that it means like I've already had to start over several times from scratch. And I know this wouldn't be starting from zero, but it feels like it almost, right? That's like that's how I feel like. Anyways, that's how we are going to be able to go to Canada and start all over again. So if you want to help me through that journey, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. And if you can't afford your premium subscription and you want to be part of this knowledge revolution, send me a direct message to or a message on Substack with the email associated with your account on the channel or on the platform, and I'm more than happy to give you uh, a premium membership on the house. Let's go to questions. Are you guys putting your questions in the group chat or are you putting it in here? What did he want? The physical. Oh, it's a power move that Arabs have by getting the head. It's not only from Arabs; it's other stuff, other. It's not only to us Arabs, but I don't know, many strongmen and dictators and mobsters, and they just, I don't know, that's what they're into, I guess. Waji, I sent you a Google Doc with all the questions I saw. You don't have to send me a Google Doc. Could you just send me the questions and the message between us? If you could copy that and just send it to the message between us, I would appreciate it. Because I don't click on links for security purposes. Just to be honest, I'm already a target for hacking, and if you could just copy and paste what you already have on the Google Doc, I would appreciate it. You know what? Let me just copy that link. See if it's safe or not. Say, I know you're not. There's nothing wrong with you, but if you're not paranoid, the if you're not sure about, let me tell you this: if you're ever not sure about if a link is safe or not to click on, copy that link and go to Google and write, "Is this link safe?" Question mark. There is a website called NordVPN. You would, and it should be one of the first websites that come out. If you click on that, there is a side where you can click and you can paste that link that you see, and it will tell you if the link is safe or not. Fortunately, the link is safe, so I'm just gonna click on it. Appreciate all your hard work. Thank you so much. Maria, how many US soldiers in total in Germany? Not a bad question. We got plenty of questions. 27 questions. God damn. Of course, the Iranians, and some people are asking about the supply chain of Israel being attacked by Iran. I wouldn't be surprised now that the ceasefire is over that Iranians are starting to attack all the supply chain. Uh, you could uh, you could see more of that. You could and will see more of that. U.S. troops. Approximately, there's 36 to 38,000 soldiers in Germany after we pull out the 5,000 soldiers that we have there. That basically tells you how many soldiers we need to have there. We need 36,000 soldiers to be present in Germany in order for us to have an operative, like a successful operation in the Middle East and in the region. Um, 200,000 soldiers are and will continue to be too short on shortages and rations, including U.S. soldiers, not only Israeli soldiers. Thomas Day says, "Gee, how could all of this actually end? In your opinion, what would this take? It would take for Trump to admit that he did not win this war. It would take for Trump to allow Iran to have control over the Strait of Hormuz. Also, would basically concessions from both sides. Iranians have to have some concessions regarding their nuclear ambitions, and both of those from both ends seem very impossible. That's why we're nowhere near a solution. Uh, Internal divisions in the Gulf Corporation Council is mostly between the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. I was talking to a couple of my insiders this morning about the situation between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And the United Arab Emirates mostly pulled out of OPEC, mostly because they were not receiving a good portion of the sales. Saudi government is receiving majority of the oil sales at the moment from OPEC, and that was just a no go. That's now like that's not information that's spread out and about. That's a leak that is giving me that information. What kind of crimes are considered heinous crimes regarding the Saudi government? What kind of crimes are considered execution crimes for Saudi Arabia? Selling beer, selling weed, selling hard drugs, selling all good enough to be used for execution. The Saudi government has uh, certain things they accuse people with on a regular basis that is sometimes hard to prove or do not need much investigation, which ends up causing a lot of innocent people being executed. And the threshold for uh, an execution in Saudi Arabia is very low. We have executed 16-year-old kids before. Someone is asking, is this to send a message to the people in Saudi Arabia? Yes, executions are designed to send a message to the Saudi people and control opposition. The only thing about that is that statistics and studies have proved that that is not helpful or not useful, or doesn't necessarily lead to the like result. Something went wrong. I apologize. And now I don't see anything on here. Well, that's awesome. A lot of questions about executions. Why just not deport non-citizens to appease the citizens? Sometimes many of these executions are to put modern slavery in order, one way or another. Family had some sort of inside murder and blame it on the worker instead of the actual killer, the family killer member. Someone stole something that wasn't the worker and they blame it on the worker. Shit like that. You know what white people used to do to slaves in America still happens to these kafala workers in Saudi Arabia. It was Jamal's uncle, not Jamal's father. Um, Ita Warren was Jamal's father or uncle, the arms dealer. Adnan was the uncle, I believe. How can we help you keep safe? I just answered that question. Um, you guys being advocates for my safety and knowing about whether I'm safe or not is one thing about that. The other thing is supporting me. Your support helps me have finances so I could go to Canada and start over. The other thing is that no being well educated and informed about how the Trump administration and how the Saudi government undermines people like us who are speaking the truth. Um, Well, what's going on here? Someone's trying to hack my phone as we speak, I guess. Someone's trying to hack my phone. Why did Turkey let it happen? They wanted to have something over Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was talking Turkey down, and the Saudi government was attacking. Yeah, they were attacking the Turkish government, and they were talking, about uh, Erdogan, and they wanted to have something over the Saudi government. Is my opinion. Demand. How can we? Someone's asking. How can we overcome what's happening in the Middle East? What could end it? Americans need to stand up. And I keep repeating this. Americans are too afraid of standing up to the fault of fearing consequences. Most US citizens have a lot to lose. And once you have nothing to lose, then there is a chance of change. But as long as you're a US citizen and you fear losing your job, because if you lose your job, then you can't pay your rent or you can't pay your mortgage, meaning you lose your house, meaning you become homeless, meaning you then don't have food, meaning you don't have insurance. When people get to that point is when I see people in the US demanding enough change. But as long as US citizens and the rest of the globe is afraid of losing what they got, then which is reasonable. I'm afraid of losing what I have. You're afraid of losing what you got. Once that happens, then you can expect grassroots change to happen. But as long as we just have a no king's rally, as long as we stay quiet about Renee Good, as long as we stay about quiet about the other people that the U.S. government is executing, and we can't do shit about it. Not only stay quiet about it, can't do shit about it because we're so afraid. When you can do something and not have fear about what you can lose, then the equation changes. Otherwise, you're gonna keep asking me the same question. And the only answer that I can give you is call your senator, call your representative, go vote, donate to the next person. If you don't see who can represent you, represent yourself, go run for office, start at the local level, move up, start at the smallest position and go up. That's the only thing I could tell you. Otherwise, we're going to keep running circles. Hmm. Yeah, someone is asking, has Trump seen the video of the killing? Yes, he has. I already answered why he wanted the physical head. I think that is good for now. We're almost at 2 hours today. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. Thank you for being part of the knowledge revolution. And please invite your family and friends to join us and learn something about what's happening in our global economy and our global geopolitical system. Like, subscribe, and share. As I'd like to say, مع السلامة, bye bye, بالإنجليزي, goodbye. I'll see you next time, which is tomorrow.